Hey everyone, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the first episode of a series we're calling It Takes a Village. It's a new series where I'm going to try to document the messy, the exciting, and the sometimes chaotic process of starting an antiques and industrial design business, which we've called Beyond the Village. Um, at Beyond the Village, we design housewares. They're typically inspired by antique forms. For me, I'm obsessed with sort of the beauty and the function of old things and old objects from previous eras. And what I'm trying to do is bring that spirit into modern pieces. This first video, it's just going to be a raw live brainstorming session. Nothing is polished. It's just me and a team of extremely talented industrial designers sort of thinking out loud and figuring it out as we go. The reason I'm sharing all of this is I feel like there's typically a lot of gatekeeping around creative businesses. And if I can sort of pull back the curtain on my process, my hope is that maybe it'll make it a little bit easier for someone to start as well. So, thanks for being here. Let's build this thing together, and I hope that you find this interesting or educational. If you're a student or a young designer and you've kind of wondered what it's like to step behind the scenes on a virtual brainstorming session in Miro, I hope this can give you a good picture of what that looks like. So, uh, thanks again, and enjoy. Okay, so what I'm hoping to accomplish today is the position that my wife and I are currently in with the business is we're trying to find a concept or a design, something that we can make and produce ourselves in time for what we're calling like the summer show season. So that's like some mix of like I'm sure everybody's familiar, but weather gets warm, like trade shows kind of start to pick up. We're also trying to get into like a number of craft fairs and local street shows and art shows and just different little things in the area where we can start spreading the business around. And until we have something that we make and produce ourselves, we're not able to get entry into a lot of these things. So we really need to like have that product in the portfolio to be able to do that. Um, I've got an itinerary set for like kind of a tight 2 hours. I'm going to try to give the best background I can on the business. And then basically, I just really want to just get as many ideas on the table as I can and really get a second opinion. I think everybody on this call is either freelance or a business owner. And so I'm sure you guys know what it's like to just kind of be in your own headspace on some of this stuff. And so like I basically just want to like get the hive mind together to have some level of confidence in like how we're moving forward. Um, and then maybe we can kind of just discuss and vote. I also put a disclaimer in here. This thing's going to be pretty loose. Like I kind of pulled this together part time, and I don't know of many businesses that are like based in antiques that are moving into product development. So I don't have a lot of good like context or research or understanding of like what that looks like. So it's gonna be pretty open. I think the main thing is I just want to have fun and throw a bunch of ideas on the table and kind of just have a good time with this. Um, I'm gonna give a quick background on the business. So like what is Beyond the Village? So just to start with the name is just a translation of our last name, Zaveski. It's rooted in the Czech Republic. Our family tree, it kind of comes from like a very long line of blacksmiths and leather workers and craftsmen, and that is kind of the family surname that we've had as we've gone through. So I felt like that kind of translated pretty well into starting a business without making it just about, our family name. And basically what we want to do is we want to kind of be this intersection of history and design. And we want to thread those two pieces together in everything we do. So whether that's the things that we're selling, like currently we sell a lot of antiques, which I'll go into. The sales that we do, the marketing, the education, what that's kind of we want to be bringing these two elements together. Because it's something we're interested in and passionate about. But B, it's kind of a white space. It's not something I see a lot of other industrial designers or people kind of in our community doing. So I think there's something kind of compelling here. Um, that's worth exploring. And yeah, with the business we do both design services as well as sell our own products. And then this is kind of the history of how we got here. So in 2024, um, our kid was freshly born and we needed money is the root of it. So I just started saying yes to every job that came my way. And I kind of got into this thing of flipping antiques. And we got to the tail end of last year, and we had like a nice little pile that we had built out. And we said, hey, like there's kind of some momentum here. We're making some money. Let's see what happens if we start to actually like take this a little bit more seriously and form a business around this thing. So we took all the money that we saved up and we've basically been using that to start the business. So we formed the LLC, we opened up an online store, we got like a larger stock, and we kind of made an investment. And so right where we are today is we're basically at this break even point. And what we've done is kind of over the last year, the nice thing with antiques is it creates this really interesting um, ability for us to do customer research. Because if I buy a bunch of little things for 2, 3, 4 bucks, I can kind of see what sells and what is like resonating in the area. And then I'm hoping to be able to like use that to inform like what we actually build and like bring into the market ourselves. So that's kind of where we are. And all of this is at the end of the day, we are really basically just focusing on housewares. So it's objects for the home end to end. That's pretty much it. This is a little bit of what our experience has been so far. So for me, I got started in rugs, which is a little bit of an odd one. Um, there's a lot of different styles. These are like three that I found work well, which is kind of the handmade Oriental rugs. There's a style called Chinese Art Deco that dates to around like the 1910s, 1920s. They come in all these like really weird and like funky color combinations. You'll find rugs that's like purple and chartreuse and it's they're kind of cool and interesting. And then the last one that seems to always work well are these like Scandinavian, what they call Raya rugs, which are from like the 1970s. They typically always look like this. They're kind of these like orange sunburst um, types of designs. They always sell, they always move, but they're hard to find. Is kind of the downside. So the pros and cons are on the bottom there. Like they sell well, but the thing I'm running into is they're very seasonal. They really only sell well in the winter. So we don't have like that summer product hit yet. And you kind of have to like explain them to people, like why people should buy old rugs. Um, I won't go super deep on that, but as you can imagine, there's a big gap in terms of like, well, is it sanitary? Is it this? Is it that? And they don't necessarily play well with like our skill set, which is industrial design and actually like sculpting physical forms. They're like very graphic objects. So outside of that, we've really just been exploring like a lot of different categories. But I would say for the most part, like we're very open. We're kind of like searching for like that next hook, that next thing that we can like really double down and capitalize on. So that's kind of like where we want to really be focusing today, I think.
Right.
Um, Hmm? Yeah.
I was trying to find the raise hand thing. I couldn't find it.
No, it's all good.
Where are you selling these? Like, where is your current market, I guess? I'm
Yeah,
curious, just because like you're like these sell well, these may not sell so well, but I'm also kind of like curious, it could just be that marketplace, not this marketplace.
exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's mainly in person, classified ads. We're going on like Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace or tapping people we know. I've had some success with like flyers and local advertising, but for the most part, it's like having to like place the product somewhere where it's very like publicly visible. Um, we wanted to try an Etsy store, but their back end. Um, just wasn't working for me. And when I reached out to their customer service, they had no solution. So we ended up just opting to launch our own Shopify store, which has its pros and cons. But the
Yeah.
downside to that is it is like much less visible. It's like way harder to promote and like it's just hard to get eyeballs. That's really
Okay.
like the big challenge we're
Yeah.
having. Yeah.
Not to derail much, but like my mom makes jewelry and she goes to shows and
Yeah.
has had a lot of the same like realizations along the way.
Oh,
And like
cool.
she'd start selling in like high school craft shows, and now she's on the bigger expos. But like, it's where you
Um,
go. Like
yeah,
there's I should say, like, I'll just call them expos. There's ones where people come in and they'll nickel and dime you, and then there's ones that people come in and they're just like, give me that one, give me that one, give me that one.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
depends kind of thing. So I don't want you to get discouraged
For
at times.
sure. No, no, of course, of course. Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, thanks, man. Um, so we've also been doing our research. So what I'm finding is these are the key categories. So I picked these out. Um, I'm open to feedback, but from what I'm finding, these are the categories that I think are trending. They're having upward mobility in terms of sales volume. And they're kind of resonating with a younger audience, which is really what I'm interested in with antiques. I think antiques have this weird perception of just being tied to like the elderly. And to me, it's like it's a smart investment. Like it's just a smart investment. It's sustainable. Like there's enough wins with antiques and like this story that I think there's a way to make it resonate with a younger audience. Um, what am I trying to say here? So there's that, like these categories are all doing well in terms of the housewares industries, and then that's the other half is they all also play well with like this story of like vintage and antiques, and we're finding that like that way of thinking also works with these categories. That's why I've like picked these out. Um, yeah, I'll go as fast as I can here. So fragrance is pretty straightforward. You guys have probably seen this, like everybody is hand pouring their own candles. That is like massive, and it's pretty saturated and everywhere, but I do think there's potential for innovation in this category. This product I pulled out, I think, is super interesting. This guy developed, it's almost exactly like what I would love to try and do, which is he found a very old technique, I think from India, called of like incense paper, where they would kind of dip these papers in fragrances and then burn them. And so it kind of creates this like differentiation in the market. But he's doing it in this really modern way by taking like really high end Aesop, $100 fragrance and scent combinations, and then applying that to like this new product, which I think is pretty cool. Decor also tends to be big. I think the big movement with sustainability and biophilic interior design is really lending itself well to like a lot of planters, and I tend to move a lot of vases around here. So that seems like something that has good traction. Outside of that, like wall hanging items like art and candlesticks always tend to be good. Organization, I think always, and so those are kind of the more trendy ones on the right. The organization and the entertainment, I think those are more evergreen, and are a bit more driven by like human need. Like everybody wants to have an organized and aesthetically pleasing home. I think the downside with this one is it's been pretty done to death by industrial designers specifically. I have no idea what like I would be able to add to this, but I did think it was worth calling out. And then the other one is like entertaining and entertainment. Everybody wants to have people into their home, and they kind of have those like special higher end items that you tend to break out and show off with a little bit, whether that's like vintage tableware, your coasters, napkins, trivets, cheese boards, like serving trays. I tend to move well, like hand painted vintage serving trays. People seem to really like those. Um, so yeah, those are some of the categories. And then this is my last slide. These are just a few external tailwinds that I think we have as a business that are working in our favor. So like I mentioned, sustainability plays really well with antiques. This idea of buying used natural materials, the way things used to be made, that all works really well. I think vintage and retro just seems to always be like in vogue for whatever reason. But right now, in particular, with younger audiences are really gravitating towards like the 70s, and a little bit of like the Y2K era. Basically, what that's translating to is like really bold design and like bold colors, like bright colors, big pops in the space. That seems to all be catching on. And then the last one I'm like very interested in, and I think this is underexplored by industrial design, but I think minimalism is coming down. You see a lot of memes about like millennial gray and like these types of things. It seems like this generation coming in, like I'm seeing a lot of movement around Art Deco specifically, like those types of form languages seem to really pop. But like overall, people are getting way more comfort with like ornamentation on product, like engravings, detailed, like those little elements that even if they're not necessarily handmade, they make a product like feel like it was touched by human hands, even if it's just from a design standpoint. Um,
Mhm.
Probably going to continue in this world of AI and everything else as well. So this is like what we're like searching for. It's like in a perfect world, the perfect product would like combine these three things together. Like we're kind of looking for something that's like historically rooted. It's acknowledging like modern trends and it's like business category ready. And that's like that sweet spot that we're kind of trying to like target and hit right in the middle. Um, that's everything I have. Does anybody have any questions before I jump over to the Miro board? This video is brought to you by our online store, Beyond the Village. You can head over to btvdesign.com to shop a wide variety of vintage finds as well as antiques. Sign up for our mailing list. You get 10% off and you'll be the first to know about new drops. You can also follow us on Instagram if you prefer to get updates that way at beyond_the_village. In our shop, we sell a wide variety of antiques, everything from glass catch-alls to some books as well. So check that out if you're interested. Weeks before you buy, you can shop the rug zine, which goes through kind of the history of antique and vintage Oriental rugs, as well as some of the best styles. Serapis are a particular favorite of mine. The Murano Glass Zine, which goes over what to look for if you're shopping for art glass, or if you'd like to learn a little bit more about art glass before you buy something from our shop, you can flip through this as well. And then finally, the Pattern and Texture Zine, which features some of my 3D work that I've done in the past, as well as some just history on patterns, where patterns come from, how designers pull them from nature to architecture, and then everything in between as well. Lastly, we also have on our shop some merch. So I just had these hats made. You can get, they're fully corduroy, really high quality with kind of our embroidered logo on the front. So that's another way you can support us as well. Again, every purchase means a lot to us and helps us support our family and get that diaper money for our kids. So head over to our website, sign up for our newsletter, follow us on Instagram, and now back to the video.
What's the what is your like uh goal for I don't want to say like sales goals, but like are you looking to find like one passionate person a week, or are you looking to say like I want this to be mainstream and we need to be doing like, multiple 10, 20, 30 sales a week? Like
Yeah,
in
that's a
other words,
great.
is this a very obscure boutique thing or is this more of a mainstream product?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dave. Thanks for asking that. I think year one, we're just playing in the boutique. Like, I'm not even worried about trying to scale because I'm doing this part-time with a day job. Um, and so for me, if I can ship like a couple orders a week, that's like enough. That's kind of like what I have time for as it is.
Hmm.
And I think that's kind of the goal of like what we want to come like our goal for year one is to just have 1,000 email signups. That like if I can get that, then I will be stoked. Um, and so yeah, I don't know if that does that kind of answer your
Yeah, that
question?
answers the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But I'd
yeah.
love to scale in the future. Like ultimately the dream and like the reason we're doing this is because I have a family now and I really just want to I've moved around my life a lot in my life and I just want to stay in one spot. So if we can get this thing like really running, that would be like the dream as well. It's like just being able to stay in one spot, support my family and like make a living off of this thing, which
Right.
I think is possible. There's four people in this room who are doing that. So that certainly inspires me.
I mean, you definitely taking this to another. I mean, I don't know what everybody really does day to day, but like this is definitely beyond what I do from like I'm, design services contractor basically.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
this is really but that's a great question by Dave because it's kind of like you also don't want to not waste your time. You do have to explore, right? But I'm curious like would you be okay just curate like not just curating, but like it looks like the things that you want to push into this world, like rather than doing them separately as well, it's like can you put awesome packages together to create these vibes, like to create
Yeah.
that experience where someone's not individually going to like Like if you just sell plants or just sell rugs, it looks like you want to sell all of these things.
Yeah.
And would it be in your interest if somebody went to your website and you had like seasonally like four feelings and ways packages of like here's the incense, here's the rug, here's the plant,
Yes.
the color, this is the thing, here's the package that we're selling you, and we can curate these things and ship them to you and
Yes.
make it easier to get that feeling, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no,
And
you're
that's your
on it.
product, I
Yeah,
guess.
you're on it for sure.
Okay, because
Um,
like like it's like I hope you're like it sounds like you want to step over like just being like, yep, we got these rugs that, you know, they have a certain feeling. I hope you like them. Like really asserting like these are things that if you're going for this, we're going to help you out and we're going to help you procure those things. But I don't know. I'm curious.
yeah, yeah,
Thoughts on that.
definitely, man. Yeah, I would love to get to that point.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep this moving because the time is tight. But yeah, like okay, so I know not everybody in this room knows each other, so I thought we'd do like just a quick icebreaker. Um, I don't know if anyone has like a favorite since we're all industrial designers. I mean, we all breathe this stuff day to day. I thought it'd be cool to share like if anyone has a favorite like historical object or a piece of design history or something, and then maybe we can all just do a quick introduction and kind of say who we are and what we do. I think everybody knows me, so um, I can find something around the office here. But maybe this is a good example. This is like I use this to just put like my pens in, but this is like something that I pull. So I bought this hoping to sell it, but the inside was so dirty that I can't. But this is a like hand painted piece of Czech ceramic, which I think is really cool. It's like Czech pottery. I think is really interesting because it's super quirky. They tend to have like a good sense of humor when it comes to products, but it's always like bright colors and then these like weird kind of like rounded amorphous designs. So that's like a piece that I have sitting around.
I'll go next since everyone knows Ray. So this is a sort of spatula knife from IKEA, and I got it. It came in a set of this and a much wider one, and the wider one's useless. I don't know what it's for, but this was a really cool tool, and it's this like cast plastic handle with a silicone, and it just sort of slots in there. You can see I don't know if you can see it in the camera. Yeah, you can see
Oh
that
yeah.
inner piece bleeding through it. And the original one I had that I got in the set, I dropped in the garbage disposal and it chewed up the front of this thing. And for like 10 years, I would talk about it all the time. And last year for my birthday, my little sister found this on eBay. That you can't buy them anymore. She found this on eBay and bought it for me. And it's like it's just so awesome to have it back in my life. It's kind of an antique, but it's not really an antique.
That's cool.
Um, so yeah, that's my favorite design object. So I am I'm based outside of Chicago, about an hour west. Um, I I run a design studio. It's a little boutique place called Camp, and we do a lot of stuff in the housewares world. Um, we a lot of stuff in drinkware. I sort of cut my teeth in design at Contigo, pre-Newell days. I designed a bunch of their water bottles and coffee mugs, and so that's sort of stayed with me. So I do a lot of like home organization products and drinkware, and yeah, amongst other things, obviously the random bits and bobs that come by.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah,
Who wants to go next?
I can
I can
jump
go
in.
next.
Oh, go ahead, Jonathan.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Gillen.
Okay. Um, I do have one thing I'll go rip off my wall later to show, but if we're talking historical, conveniently, I have these mugs. They're spotter mugs
Oh
from
wow.
um, I just heard the story through my husband, so I don't know all the details, but he brought these to our relationship 10 years ago, whatever. But I guess they were for like the mess hall, so that just by, familiarity, these you'd start memorizing the airplanes, so it has the
oh,
stats and
cool.
then the silhouette in the sky. But
Oh wow.
um, we have like a set and they have all the different planes on them. But I just always thought that was interesting to like blend in flashcards with breakfast, right?
That is an interesting idea. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that. So I run knack, which is a design consultancy. Been going for over 10 years now, which is a little crazy. But we're focused primarily in the front end innovation space. So we work with um, innovation teams in bigger corporations, and we basically jump in if they don't have a large innovation team or a team at all, or if they just need support. So we do a lot of concept illustration and concept generation, just trying to figure out what products they should design next, and a lot of times getting them either approval or helping them get feedback and research. So that is what we do, and I am based in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly.
All right, I'm Jonathan Hardy. Could not think of an object because I usually get bored at some point. So the first things that comes to my mind is nature because it keeps evolving, and every season there's adaptations and transformation, and that's what keeps amazing me, I would say. So yeah, and as you might figure out, so I'm not from US. I'm based in Canada, close to Montreal. So I've been working for 2 decades almost in lighting industry. So I was recently let go. So now it's totally new territory for me, exploring different new avenues. Currently having two projects in the pipeline. One which is some sort of high-end, highly repairable, sustainable coffee maker based on the company ideas that would be the Patagonia of appliances, small appliances. It's earlier on. It's just crazy ideas. We doing some value proposition validation at that point, but something that drives me. And a second thing that I'm moving on is trying to help out the local SME here in the region, and also small design firm to move on Gen AI to increase their efficiencies and creativity. So something that I developed over the years in Signify, and trying to apply that here. So that's me.
Um, so I like ran downstairs to grab my favorite mug because everybody's sharing their mugs. Let me get my blur off here real quick. But thought it was a cool opportunity. Um, yeah, so I like I guess if anybody's been on a meeting with me in the past 2 years, they probably have seen this mug. And I really like it because it has the little heat transfer. So the
Oh
leaves go
yeah.
away when, I run out of coffee or it gets cold. So it's a good reminder for me to constantly remake my coffee. Um, and so that's my favorite mug, but I've held on to it. And it says it's from David's Tea, so it has my name at the bottom, but nobody has mentioned that yet. So I'm testing my clients. Um I think weirdly, I think like I was trying to think of favorite product, and one that always jumps to mind for I don't know why, but is the SX70 camera from Polaroid. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it.
Oh, I'm
Just a
not.
crazy compact, yeah, bring that thing up.
Yeah, I'll
But
put it in the Miro board.
it was like a drawing exercise in college to like do that, and but it just amazed me that somebody tried to take a really super bold leap at that point. And I think it was the Eames either did like the instructional video, which was kind of cool, but just the whole just the effort around that camera, and it's still like it's pretty mechanical and it's pretty intricate, and they've really made a huge effort to do something slim at the time and elegant. So I just kind of like the effort around that object. So, but yeah, I'm Dave Festino. I've been I myself have kind of gone out on my own the past 2.5, 3 years now. So I'm exploring the the world of contract design services. If anything, just calling myself, product development um, contractor, and exploring what that means to me as well. So, uh, from front end to back end execution, I worked for Bose previously for about 10, 11 years, taking products from first sketch to the last product off the line. So I try to do the same for my clients and give them a a credible resource that can help them from end to end. So then that's what I've been doing is kind of putting myself in that position to help them anywhere along the line or all the way through. So
That's awesome. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, it's funny. I think Polaroid was a Massachusetts-based company, right? Were they?
no idea.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just wondering. They had a big exhibition around here maybe a couple of years ago where it was the entire history of their product development, and that was like the exhibition. It was all of the like ID sketches and the hand models and the prototypes. It was like really cool. It was like a company that was kind of before my time. Like I didn't know they were as innovative as they were
They were kind of one of those companies
pre-digital.
that
Yeah.
had like the designer dream kind of company, but I think
Yeah.
from a business standpoint,
hmm
it crumbled. I'm from Massachusetts, by the way. I forgot to say that.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. All right, so let's get into some brainstorming then. So what I'd like to do is take 10 minutes. I'll set a timer and just everybody I feel like I've been word vomiting at you and there's a lot to process. So maybe take 10 minutes. The post-its that I've captured here, these key jumping off points, are basically just everything I talked about and everything that was in my slide deck. Feel free to, if there was something that I said that triggered you or something that stood out that you found interesting, feel free to grab it as an ingredient and then throw some ideas kind of around that element. So that could be something that you either have an expertise in or just something that you find interesting. So we'll do that for 10 minutes and then I figure we can discuss. I'll be pulling over a bunch of ideas from the parking lot in the meantime, and then yeah, we can go from there. Does that work
Um,
for everybody?
yeah, it sounds good. Ray,
Cool.
I think one thing that I was poking around in your pre-work over here, and Craig Hill definitely stands out as a
Yes.
company that feels like someone who's innovating in the space that you like, as far as like almost like creating iconic, what could be vintage, very simple, clean,
Yeah, exactly.
I very much admire their work.
Yeah, definitely.
And I have a question for you. Like,
Yeah.
do
Just really
you,
quick, Dave. I'm setting a timer for 10 minutes.
sure.
So everybody else,
Okay.
yeah, feel free to dive in.
Okay.
But yeah, what's up? We can talk in the meantime. What's
Yeah.
your question?
So, like, are you, I mean, this might be something you're deciding. You want to continue to create a place where people can discover, explore, and buy like these items and you're here to procure and educate and move that stuff? Or is it that and then does that evolve into something where you are becoming like a Craig Hill where you in the mix maybe you have like 90% stuff that you're repurposing and then like 10% you throw in like an ashtray you designed or like something and eventually does it like kind of switch or even out or you're figuring that out?
Yeah, that's my thought is start off selling found objects and then ultimately switch into selling made objects. I'm also 3 months into this business, so
Yep.
I have a business plan, but it is by no
Yeah.
means like you know, we're not tied to it to anything. So I think we're just trying to see like let's throw some stuff out, we'll see what works, we'll listen to the market, listen to the customer and kind of go from there. Um, so yeah, sorry, I know that's not like the best, they're not the cleanest answer, but it's the one I have.
I have a question for you on these ideas. Do you want them to be for found objects or for made or
Made.
objects you've made?
Yeah, made
Okay.
objects.
I want to
Yep.
make sure.
Made objects. What do you mean by made
Could
objects? Like,
Like we're designing and manufacturing it ourselves. So it could be, so we'll get into this when we stretch the ideas, but I'm looking to either like 3D print things or if there's a way to tool something up cheaply, like under 1K tooling. Um, Or we have like a Cricut, like a paper cutting machine. I have a little wood shop in my basement, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Low volume, you know?
Like something that comes to mind, like 3D printed ceramic, 3D printed wood,
Yep.
like
Yeah, you're on
leveraging
it.
materials through prototyping, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Ray, are you cool if we just start like sharing ideas out loud as well?
Yeah.
Or do you
Oh,
want to
that's
just,
what I was going for.
Yeah, let's do it, man. That's
yeah.
fine. Yeah.
So like I always had this idea of when was ready to retire, and I'll just give it to you in case you want to use it and you can. Like I had this vision of like all these axes around the country or even the world, right? Like it's a wooden handle with a steel head, and the wooden handle eventually rots or breaks. And most people, like, well, 50 years ago, maybe 60 years ago, someone would replace the handle themselves. Nowadays, you just have an axe head with half a handle in the garage somewhere. So I had this idea of like, could you upcycle axe heads with a handmade handle and like sell them as a sort of like a
Uh,
like an antique, but it's you're
Cool.
doing some
yeah.
added work on it. So as you were talking, or like in your intro, I was like the first thing I'm going to share is this because like it fits in that like it's antiques, but it's also made. Um, and there's no manufacturing, obviously. So is there something else in that world of like, could you take something and plus one it or like improve on it or just fix it, like just something that is busted, which kind of brings in the wabi sabi concept. It's a bit of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. It's like this idea of like you're doing a restoration, but you're not restoring it to like one to one of what it was. You're restoring it into like something new. That's like a
Yeah.
cool story, I think. Yeah.
To jump off of that, that's really cool. I really I like seeing like old luggage being reused and but like would be really cool if that was like a kit that stuff came in or and like say it's like you've procured like the Japanese or the Art Deco plus a rug plus an incense or something that like is a curated experience and it can be shipped to you and it's like cool old luggage that you could find perhaps.
Mm.
Yeah,
I
I have a post-it somewhere. I'll have to see if I can find it. But like one thing I've seen people do in antique stores that I think is pretty successful is they'll pull together like a mid-century cocktail set, and it's basically like an antique basket with like a charcuterie board that they found, like some Ava Zeisel cocktail glasses, and then like it's like multiple pieces together, and so it's like, hey, are you just you're removing that process of like asking people to hunt, and you're just saying like, this is the
yeah.
best, here it is, all pulled together, like one thing, and
Like
then you
how
can charge a
cool.
premium for that.
Yeah, like if somebody walked
Yeah.
into a booth and they can just walk away with that suitcase or that luggage,
Yeah.
that'd be so cool.
Yeah, the
Like
suitcase aspect is interesting. I didn't think about that, but that's like a cool
there's so much
twist.
old suitcase. And I love the educational aspect you have going because like when you started this off, it's kind of like you're like, this is why this is special from a storytelling standpoint, or oh the humor in the check, like nobody knows that stuff, and if you can quickly rifle off that stuff or whatever, it might just have a more endearing effect and might give them right. That's I mean, I would assume you're kind of trying to like emit that like sort of like aspect, but I don't know. Like I think it's charming to know those things. You might not actually like the product, but then when you learn that thing about it, you're like, oh, that's cute. That's awesome. I want
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a huge challenge with this whole thing of like the educational aspect. But to me, it's like that's the marketing. It's like, okay, that's clear. Now I don't have to like think of ideas for marketing. The marketing is just like telling the story of these things. And I have not pulled that together yet, but I think that that's probably the path we're gonna go down.
Yeah, I like the axe thing. Like just like yeah, like I'm always curious, like especially with like oh man, I mean this is kind of pulling away from the warmth of the products that you're using, but like I'm always kind of like, what's gonna happen? 10, 20 years from now with like all the electronics we made in the 90s and the
Yeah.
early 2000s. And it's just like, can we possibly repurpose those things in a way that's fun and it becomes a brand
Yeah.
somehow?
So you actually bring up an interesting point, which for me, that's a hard line that I personally draw is I do not want to mess with electronics
Cool.
at all.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
That's a
Lighting
smart
move.
decision.
Yeah, lighting. Well, one, it's a liability and it would require me to get business insurance. Two, like lighting is an example where it moves. You can sell it immediately. Like people are always looking for lighting and it commands a really high margin and price point. But I've been burned so many times buying used or antique or vintage lighting that just doesn't work. And then it's like, okay, what am I going to do? Now I'm like rewiring this thing or I'm spending
Yeah.
time on this and that. And I tend to just stay away from it. Um, to the detriment of the business, but to like the benefit of my mental sanity.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, yeah, it's tough because it could be like, I don't know, like a corroded thing and there's no
Yeah.
way for you to know.
Yeah. I do have this lamp, which is awesome. I don't know if anyone can see this, but this is from 1880 and it still works,
Wow,
which is kind of cool.
that's impressive.
I mean,
So
there's,
Ray,
go ahead,
to
John.
get back to this idea of lamp. So how about you buy some of maybe you leverage some of the vases that doesn't go well in sales, then and then you transform them in lighting, or you find a way to add lighting to it so it gives a secondary purpose
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
Um, or I was thinking also the rug. There was someone here that was making new rugs out of cuts of fabrics, but they
Yep.
were selling them also to put on a wall. So how about you would have some sort of hanger, and that hanger also could include lights, which could really highlight the detail of the rug
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I just pulled in this from my parking lot. But my cleaner that I use, he sent me this text or whatever,
Mm,
and he
made an object out of
you
it,
come
like
across a lot of rug fragments where
mm,
the border tends to get chewed up or they get ripped or they get torn, and then you have these like weird pieces that are still have a lot of value. I mean, these things are hand knotted, but you can't really use them as rugs anymore. So people like a lot of people make them into like women's handbags, or I've seen people do like
mm.
pillow cushions or furniture. So like that's a way that we could go as well. Yeah, for sure.
I like so Art Nouveau is like one of my just all-time freaking favorite eras for everything. It was like the most beautiful to me, just like implementation of like the stairways and the archways and like architecturally and the ornateness, how balanced it was. And somebody dropped a nice in the how might we solve genuine user problem section. Somebody dropped in that
Oh,
case.
nice.
But I just threw a Google search for Alphonse Mucha in there. It was
Yep.
like my favorite artist.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I had a slide that I took out, but yeah, like
amazing.
breaking down Bohemian design, he was like one of the big people that pushed Czech design forward. And he like really drove their design languages to be like very painterly. Everything's very
Beautiful.
artistic in a way
Yeah.
that's like almost counter to like Bauhaus or German or like other European countries. Like they're way more expressive.
But like
Um,
so clean at the same time. Like I
yep.
was what he helped shape my mind of management of not necessarily like negative space, but like he was so good at like what overlapped and what blended together, and he would help. So like it's usually in the hair of the women he would paint and draw. Like the curls would just kind of become one thing as opposed to overlaps, and it was just his decision making as graphically. I've gone down spirals of that work, but I think that's like such a an interesting but in like his in like it's interesting what you're doing and like his in his history he was like essentially I think a just like an artist and finding work and he'd like paint on windows, he did stamps, he did all this, right? And he's always finding some way to push his work into the world, and I think what you're doing is like it's like how can I do it my way sort of
Yeah.
thing with these platforms.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Okay. I want to keep on
No,
time
So there's
here.
a riff going on near the top of this board about like I saw this picture of the 3D printed skulls and it made me think um like patching broken things with 3D printed parts, you know?
Ah,
And
yeah.
is there a way you could literally like put something in the printer and then like print directly
whoa.
onto it? Because I
Yeah.
know you can like I've seen where you like pause the printer and like put stuff in the part and then turn the print back on and it
Hmm.
you can like embed things. Um yeah, Kelly,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. Yeah.
And like and then Kelly I think threw on this like could it be a kit? And then I was like maybe people send you their thing and you scan it and then patch it and send it back.
Oh,
Um
that's cool.
but I think they would just like I could just in general, the idea of like people I think would find it fascinating just to like, oh, I never thought you could do that. Like, and just even though it wouldn't be a perfect replacement, it's just like the imperfection of it, kind of like the wabi-sabi bowl is what makes it interesting.
Yeah, and
And
I think
maybe,
it supports some of your customer persona that you described, right? So
Hmm.
they have some sort of personal value about sustainability and reusing things. So suddenly you take something that would be good for garbage and you give it a second life. So I think that could make almost a stronger story in some ways if you could find some of, and you could have a pretty good markup too, right? Because those will be cheap because they are defective or broken, and then you
yeah,
bring them to a nicer value. So,
For
and
the
you
Yeah.
could
sake of
and you could have a lot of.
consistency,
Go
you
ahead, Kelly.
could like
Sorry.
specialize in, like we specialize in chipped mugs. Send us your broken coffee mug, something that is somewhat repeatable for you. And like you said, Jonathan has emotional value, but it's easy for
Yeah,
you to
or like,
fix.
yeah, is there you be hyper repeatable, and it's like this model of lamp, right? Like there's a ton of them from the 70s and
Hmm.
they're so easy to find broken and we have the model finished already, and then you just buy broken lamps and I know we don't want to do lamps, but you get the point. Like you just like buy every time you see one of these things broken, you buy it because you know exactly the process to like do the repair. And if it was something that was like a decorative centerpiece for like apples or something, like you don't have to necessarily make it super functional. It could just be like filament on an object.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. And I will say I do see a lot of repeat items. Like there are certain things where it's like, okay, I've seen this object like 10 times in the last
Mm.
year. So yeah, that would be an interesting exercise to go through and actually like map those out and see like if there's an opportunity there.
I think all of this is that like really hitting on kintsugi, the art of like when you've had take a broken bowl, I'm off to the
Yeah.
right, and then you put the
I thought
gold.
that was called wabi-sabi. I kept calling it that. What is
Oh, is that what
Uh,
wabi-sabi?
no. So wabi sabi is, I think it's like an
Okay,
overall philosophy of
you're
just
basically talking.
things
Okay.
being imperfect and wonky. Kintsugi is the image that Kelly put in, I think, of the
Ah,
Oh,
actual
Kelly already
like
did it.
gold with the bowl. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
I wasn't
Okay.
looking at the rest of the board. Oh, okay. Thought I had
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
something
yeah,
a
over here.
that's a perfect reference though, Dave. Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's
for
like
sure.
that's cool. Yeah, if like yeah, that in itself, if you could do a modern version of that, I mean, I'm always enamored with that, and then but it's like I don't feel like it's been resurged in the most modern way yet.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
Have you seen
so
these guys? Um, what are they called? I forget the name, but they take like a Apple products and other old tech and like do a knolling
Yes,
of it and then frame
Mm.
it.
yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I know what you're talking
Um,
about. See if I can
I don't know
find
why that
that.
just flashed through my head, but
Era
I
boards.
have a I have an I have the iPhone 4S I bought a few years ago, and it's an interesting way of like repurposing a broken thing.
Yeah, I've got the image here. Oh, this file's too big.
With rugs, do you ever see yourself designing your own rugs?
It's a good question. I think it's a tough one to go there. I just yeah, the thought has crossed, but I don't have a good idea of like how to attack it.
It's
But I'm open to it.
such a big, it's such a crazy offshoot of the industry.
Yeah, I'm gonna share a very weird image and idea I had. It's gonna be it's a little out there, so bear with me. But yeah, I'll just need a minute to pull up the file. Let's see. Put this on the other screen so
Oh, that's cool. Dave, did you put the breakdown of the 4S? Is that what that what you bought? You're mute.
oh, sorry, I can't see the zoom. Did we lose somebody?
No, I don't know if Dave, I was wondering if that 4S you bought, if that's I'm looking at the breakdown of it. I think Kelly's there too. Dave's you're on mute though if you're explaining. Okay.
I'm sorry. I
No
was
worries.
explaining and
Okay.
talking and asking people
I was trying to
questions
lip
that people
read.
were ignoring. Um, yeah, this is the one I have in my
It's pretty
office.
cool. That is
No, that's
really
cool.
cool.
It's pretty awesome. They
That
do a bunch of other tech, obviously, as well. But
should just have a whole, I don't know. That's like very educational, especially for industrial
Yeah,
design.
I feel like it's a great combination between industrial design and history and
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
salvaging.
Yeah,
mhm.
that's neat.
Yeah, like Ray, do you ever like I mean like I'm like what like how can you leverage I'm curious how you can leverage these areas that you're interested in. Um like dumb idea. Like I don't know, like is there like a rug holder? Like I don't know, like is there like or something that accommodates or um like
Yeah.
it's this stuff that you can make that like if you have all of this stuff that you can sell, but then you create an object that can like buddy up with all of these things, so it doesn't matter what rug they buy. It's like you give them the rug cleaner. Like
Yeah. So I had this really weird, funky idea. I just threw it in the board. I'm scared to share it. It's odd.
those are cool, man. Go
So
ahead.
rugs, I've got a big
Fucking love
pile
that.
here. They're kind of big.
I'm gonna throw something on top of that.
They all have like they're kind of all they all have symbols. This
Hmm.
isn't going to come off super well. Where's my camera? They all have these symbols that are woven in, and it's not a aesthetic thing. It's almost like a cultural or religious thing. And when you start diving deep, every village has its own style and they have their own set of symbology that like ties to life. So they weave in a lot of like the symbol for wealth or the symbol for prosperity or like running water is a theme. And so one idea I had is like could I create like my own set of like symbols or like my own language or like some kind of cipher or is there some way that I can like because to just pull from like that culture and reuse it feels a little bit I don't know, it just feels shitty. It feels a little misguided. So is there
Hmm.
something that we could like almost build from the ground up that like these little Easter eggs that people could like look for or like just like what like a way to give ornamentation more meaning I think could be kind of cool. And then that like evolved into like I started thinking about like well do I just do like a ciphered language? Could you do like a thank you card or like a get well card that you give somebody that they have to like translate to actually get the meaning. So, because most people like we get cards and you kind of you read it and then you set it aside or whatever, but like how do you let people like live in
Mm.
that message a little bit more?
That last bit I think is meaningful. At first, I was like, "Why would you want to make a sick person like
Right,
do
right. Yeah, yeah,
something?"
yeah. You wouldn't want
But
to do that. Yeah, not a get well
but
soon. Yeah.
but your point of like you look at the card and you're like, "Cool," or even like, "Oh, thank that means a lot." But like to prolong that experience is meaningful, I think. even to a sick person.
Yeah.
So one of the things I was that this iPhone poster made me think of is like the reason I bought that, and I think the reason that's a successful brand that sells these things. I've seen them in the background on calls with clients. Like they do well, I presume.
Hmm.
And there's a passionate group of people that are like all about Apple products, and they also make like a Game Boy, you know. So it's like this is a group of people you can find them, and when you show them something that's in their nerdery, they are like all for it. And when you were describing those rugs, I was like, sounds like there might be like if you found it, like then there's definitely a group of people that are like into uh, that symbology or symbol, whatever.
Um, that's like, and then with mugs too, like I don't know, would you give somebody like if that symbology, if something means something, like do you tie it into like the tea you give them with it?
Hmm.
Like that harkens back to the how the story of those things. Like can you partner these products up with something that's meaningfully tied to it that like it challenges them to then it takes the choice out of like, oh, I would never try that flavor because I'm just not like they might like if it's a tea, like people might just go by default to like Earl Grey or like English tea time or like something that's just safe
Yeah.
and good, but then like not choose something that's going to be a little bit more eclectic, but now you're giving them a reason to, and they might just like it. I dropped a I love this that chart next to your glyphs. I did the black chart. It's like the history of the alphabet. I love this thing.
Oh, interesting.
Somebody put that on LinkedIn the other day, and I was just like, ah, okay, that makes so much sense now.
Yeah, that is interesting. Huh.
Yeah, I feel like kind of piggybacking on all this, like to me, I think something valuable that you bring, right, is like your storytelling and knowing the history. Like, I don't usually know the history of my stuff, and my mind just doesn't go there. I don't look it up. But like I just saw a clip from Antique Roadshow, and you see all those people who own these things for many years and how they just light up when somebody else tells them their own story. And then
Interesting.
it's like memorable enough that they can then repeat it. And that's really valuable, it seems like to them. So going along with all this, like, can you give them that story? Just like Dave was saying with like giving them a plaque of some sort. Um, whether it's you give them their custom story to their custom piece or something like this. I'm looking at the evolution of the alphabet, where it can accompany many things. But I think there's something interesting there, which kind
Yeah.
of, this is the thing I was going to rip off the wall. Not really a story, but there's this company called Brainstorm that does these like informational posters, but this one's different knife chopping skills. Um,
Oh,
But I
cool.
think it's like for me, the reason I liked it is like a nice blend of homemade product I could buy, but also you know, decorative and also something relating to my interests like cooking and educational, like a talking piece. But for them, it's a poster. They had to design it and then super easy to reproduce.
That's interesting.
I wonder if
But
like going off of that, I'm gonna drop some. That's like those posters are awesome. Like I love seeing like I just dropped like a Google search
Yes.
of like plant posters, but
Yes.
like saying of what Kelly's kind of saying. It's like a taxonomy of things, but educationally. Um, and like you can get lost in those posters. Like I don't know if that's worth it to you. I don't know if that's the card that it comes with. I don't know. Like other things you can get, like other rugs.
Well, I think to piggybacking off of this discussion, like one thing I'm seeing a lot when we're doing store walks around here are like it could just be a package design exercise. Like maybe it is taking that idea or you I love the idea of I don't know. I like graphic design. It could be cool. I wonder if you almost do something, Dave, like that electronic explosion where you make that and you set that up once, you take a really good photograph and then that becomes your artwork for the
Hmm.
thing that you make. So like this is one I've seen where it's like it's a box of matches, but it just has this cool packaging of like the history of I forget this one's like the history of minerals. So now it's like the matches aren't something that is just in like a big bright ugly box that you're putting in your drawer, but you can like display it on your shelf. Like maybe it is like
Yeah.
setting something up once, taking a great photo of it, doing a package exercise, but then you could also like sell it at a premium. Like, hey, I've handmade this thing. It's kind of like similar to like with artists, they'll do the print and then they'll also sell the
Hmm.
original piece. Like I wonder if there's some like business model
Yeah.
that makes sense for that.
Interesting.
Let's write that down.
The nice thing about plant prints, posters full of plants is like someone like me who kills every plant she owns, that poster won't die. So I could still have
Yeah,
greenery without having to water plants.
that's true.
I actually ran over my plants during this discussion half an hour ago to water them
Oh
because it
no.
needed me to.
There's this coffee shop that I frequent more than I should, and I'll drop a picture in the on the board, but they have a wall of just average foods packaged. They have salt, sugar, sardines, like little candies, but all the packaging is like super elevated or just kind of along the aesthetic that you had pulled before, right? And like what a difference it makes. And yeah, everything's way marked up, but I've just been like stuck on it. And yeah, I'll pull the board in or pull it into the board so you can see, but I can't help but be interested by it.
Yeah, that's another item that moves well for us. Are these like I'm grabbing an image now, but these like Soviet what was it? What was it? Like USSR era
Mm.
educational posters, and they're like Russians. They had kind of this like constructivist period where they had like really, really good design, but nothing ever made it over here because there was all this global tension and et cetera, et cetera. But when you find these pieces, they're like beautifully illustrated. They're always printed on like the cheapest, shittiest paper you can imagine, but like the artwork really stands out. Like this is no, this is one that I have. But it's a bit more nature focused. But yeah, th those are really really interesting. Cool.
When our kids were younger, my wife homeschooled them, and the schoolroom, not schoolroom, but the room they did school in was surrounded in these sort of like vintage taxonomy posters or whatever, like bird types and whatever. So, and not to say that that's the only person that would want them, but like, you know, educational place. Uh, they're educational as well as, you know, just nice to look at.
Well, you bring up a good point, I think, from a business standpoint, which is that like around here, and I have to imagine first-time home buyers, people who are investing in furnishing their home, are people who are have young families or are starting
Hmm.
a family. And so I feel like that might be a good intersection. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it wasn't like, hey, let's go over here and look at this poster and have a lesson about birds. It's more like we wanted the space
Yeah.
that they were in to sort of passively give off information instead of it being just like whatever. Nice. I mean, nice artwork is beneficial too, but like the added level of like you're sort of when you're daydreaming and looking off to the side, you're reading about, bird species, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Ray, have you been to like out in Worcester? There's like that kind of that mall at Kelly Square.
Seed to stem. That's my favorite
Yeah.
store. Yeah, I really wanted to bring that up because that's the I'm assuming this is what you're talking about. Um,
I mean, just walking in there feels like the vibe you're
to
going
me, this is like the epitome of like if
for.
I can get a product in this store, like I will be
Oh,
pumped. There's a couple people around me who have
shit.
their like local business, like Hudson Honey is in here
Okay.
now.
Yeah.
But this is like the
There you go.
vibe.
Okay.
And
I
this
mean,
is
that
where I
helps.
started picking up on the rugs to begin with
Okay. Yeah, that
because
helps
they have a
frame
lot of
things.
that in there.
Yeah,
But
like
for,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say for other people on the call, I think these guys are killing it. This is like right on trend. So it's a plant shop, but then it's when you walk in, it's this like very affecting experience. Like the thing is just packed. And it's like a mixture of like plants, plant care, books about plants, like home decor, a lot of like vintage vases and things that they kind of put the plants in. There's like antique handmade rugs all over the place. It's very, very cool.
One of my favorite like leveraging antiques to sell the stuff they want to sell, right? So
Exactly.
they set up like everything is like not silhouetted by, but like one of my favorite objects they have in there is like this drawer that has like or this cabinet that has like 100 drawers, but it was like a
Yeah.
pharmaceutical cabinet. So it was just like I don't know what, it's like Tylenol but it's all like it's from like the early century. So it's like you see drugs there that should not be sold by a doctor or a pharmacy anymore
Yeah.
illegally. So it's kind of funny.
Cocaine.
Yeah,
Exactly. Like that's the first thing that comes to
yeah.
my mind is this like cocaine. Like then it was
Yeah.
kind of like nobody knew, but it
Yeah,
works.
that's cool.
So
Yeah, these are all photos
I
from when we
love
did a
that
store
place.
walk there and we were just looking for ideas.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've often like they even sell like smoking stuff like
Yep.
pipes and and but they look like stones. It's beautiful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that section. Maybe you can make a mini version of that online. What's their online presence?
I don't think it's overly strong.
Because
Yeah, it's more of a retail play, but
them. So in-store experience is also pretty damn good.
yeah.
Um, yeah, they have a pretty basic online shop where they do a good job of checking people out quickly, pretty modern square type register sort of thing. So,
Oh. Okay, how are we doing? I feel like maybe we're slowing down a little bit. Let's
Yeah, I think
do a
that's.
yeah, sorry, go ahead, Dave.
I was agreeing with you, and then realizing that I was interrupting, so stopped.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. Um, So I thought maybe we could just do a quick voting exercise. So I have some dots over on the right. I think everyone has two, so everybody could just pick a color and then kind of place a dot on if there's a part of like the discussion that resonated or if there's an idea that stands out in an image. Maybe just take a look through and pin something. And then what I want to do is like we'll move those ideas down and we'll start to stretch them. So we'll just take 2 minutes and do that.
Dude, I guess I don't know. Would it help if everybody was kind of like, here's a thing that I put on here that I think is effective because I'm not going to be able to like scan the board and
Okay.
understand people's
Well,
thoughts.
sure, sure. Yeah, everyone do.
Jonathan, I'd like to hear. You've been busy at work down in the bottom there, and I'd like to hear a little bit of what you got going on.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, a lot of things. I think there's a place to have products that ties closer to what you have going on, right? So, and this usually when you have a shop, there's this idea also that people comes to your shop and they're looking to buy, let's say, a rug or a vase. But then if you could sell this other things with it, it's an extra sales, right? So I was thinking of all these objects that can go with it. So whether it's something that helps to support the vase, protect it, whether it's made of wood or 3D printing, uh, hanging, elegant wall-mounted holder for the rug. So I think that's a given has been mentioned. Shelving in some ways, so whether to put that vase on the wall, so maybe that's something you could explore. And then the second after that was I was thinking about the 3D printing, and we all know that 3D printing is often looks cheap in some ways. So, but at the same time, it allows you to create a lot of detail and ornamentation. So, and I think it has a really good combination with Art Nouveau movement, and so maybe you could replicate some pieces of jewelry box or things like that. I know it connects to something that's been discussed, but that was the train of thought here. Um, and then same thing about small catch-all trays, but then maybe generating these design that people love, but you couldn't find them around that easily. And I was thinking about the furniture hardware, like the knobs. Those are quite expensive usually, and
Oh.
finding vintage one might be, yeah, tough. So again, using 3D printing and mix of woods and things like that, maybe there's a niche here.
I like
Um,
this.
yeah.
Both those last two thoughts aligned with something that I throw, like I just wrote down the idea of like, is it a fake antique or a faux antique?
Yeah.
Um, and that's both the last one and this one really sort of resonate with that thought. Is like for people that like antiques but maybe can't find it or can't afford it, if it could be a really fun thing. Like it's sort of like almost better than being actually antique at that point for that consumer. Very cool.
Yeah, yeah. Incidentally, also because if it's made to order, you could personalize it, so it can be also a strong value proposition. Maybe a personalized one with your initial and your middle name, whatever, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went into the wood because you talked about wood. So again, series of same products but could be made of wood. But then I looked at the rock wall divider, and I think that especially if you target like younger customers, they might be in apartments, so they might need some ways to divide space. The top right image here, just aside the star, my daughter she's into like all these influencer, and it's all about this I forgot the name, but this trend of some sort of clothings, but this kind of divider which is super fancy, where you can hang, yeah, some fancy scarf, mirror, and things like that, but those made of really nice fabric, and maybe you could reuse some of those rug that doesn't sell well, or some other ones, and create simple wooden structure. I think there's an interesting train of thoughts here.
Yeah, that's really
And,
nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
and lastly, it was okay, just mashing those two things, fabrics and vase. So is there another avenue here? And I combine both. So I find out a couple of examples.
This is super interesting. I've never seen anything like this before. This is cool. One idea we had is air plants would be a really easy thing to, I think, pair with like vessels or decor, because it's like it's cheap, it's easy to source. People like to buy them because it's low care, and then you don't necessarily have to worry about like water tightness, um, or being like airtight with whatever the thing is you're making. And I feel like this is an idea that could play well with that. Um,
Mhm.
cool. Awesome. Thanks, Jonathan. Okay, I'm trying to think how to do this. This is like way more ideas than I was anticipating, which is good. It's a good problem to have. Um,
Hey, hey Ray, if I just before I forget, because I mentioned that I thought of that initially. So I know you're targeting these kind of summer shop, but currently you do have a website. So
yep,
one thing that is pretty cool is then you could start testing things even before making those, right?
yep.
And see which one have more clicks, and bring more traffic to your site in some ways. Maybe you could find a way to phrase it in such a way that it's a longer lead time, but at least you're able to validate if people are interested. So that could bring down like from 20 ideas to maybe a short list eventually. So something to keep in mind, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely. Yep, just got that on a note. Cool. Oh, wow, these are interesting.
Uh, right, are you hovering over the knitted stuff?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I kept thinking about I think Jonathan was talking about, I don't know what he was talking about, but it spurred um like using 3D printing, but like it's like can you do something with the 3D printing that that is like authentic to 3D printing? Like you're owning the 3D printing, but then there's this group too I'm going to drop in here that I've been following called Tilde, and I'm trying to walk you into something that's more elegant. So like the first
Mm.
ones are like I love these. Like I just got myself a bamboo, so I started printing. I was just like, oh, I want to do knitted cat or something
Yep.
for my
Yeah.
wife, and it's like so cool that like it looks like it's knitted, and it's something that like I wouldn't spend the time modeling myself in CAD. So it's fascinating to me that somebody has taken the time to do that on these contoured surfaces, and then trying to move it towards like the yarn holder, then the plant holder, and then it gets more and more refined, especially when they start to do these gradients between colors and stuff like that. So it's this weird, like very elegant texture that doesn't look 3D printed. That's like I think that's what Jonathan said was like that's the hard part with 3D printing is like it looks 3D printed. So if you can kind of disguise it, but you're not being unauthentic where like I started it off with like the knitted snowman. It's still obvious, but then you go towards these more elegant motifs and it's kind of like, whoa, maybe you can't necessarily do that unless you 3D print it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's like the perfect segue, I think, into this kind of last exercise I want to do here. So I'd like to go into this concept stretcher section. So I'm just going to read this off. So the what we're going to do is pick an idea. I would say everybody pick one or two of your favorite ideas from the top and copy paste them down. And then we're going to try to like really stretch and expand on each of those ideas. So there's basically like two tent poles to the business that are going to like make or break these ideas. One is like, how the hell are we going to make this and do it ourselves in like a reasonable with a reasonable amount of investment and time. So I have like post-its on here to start with, but I'm happy to like also take additional ideas. These are just ideas that I had. So like we've made some investments for the business. We bought like a bamboo printer, similar to yourself, Dave. We bought a Cricut machine for cutting paper. We can source objects. We can do some hand painting, some shop work, but pretty light. And then we also, I think, can pull in from a lot of different design periods to like remix these ideas. I think that could be an interesting exercise as well. So I would say like if everyone maybe pulled down one or two, maybe let's say we can do two of your favorite ideas, and then try remixing them with kind of this like set of parameters and ingredients. Um, so let's go ahead and do that now. I'm trying to keep an eye on the time. Make sure we don't go over. So let's say maybe like 15 minutes and then we'll wrap up here. By the way, if you do want to pull more than two, I think go for it. This is a pretty creative group, so I think there's nothing stopping us from having
I
more
was just talking
ideas.
with mute on. Should the manufacturing and design periods post-its be different colors than the post-its we've been using so they're
Yeah,
easily
let me do that.
identifiable?
I'll do that. Good idea. Thank you, Dave. That's a good call. I don't think we have blue or green. Could be
They won't
wrong.
stand out. Okay.
Oh, there's a couple blues and greens, but It should be okay.
We're sorry, we're pulling down from the board into this concept stretchers thing.
Yep. Yeah, you got it.
Okay. Ray, we should go to see the STEM field trip.
There's one in Northborough now,
Oh, cool.
like about 10 minutes from here. That was the one I went to and took all those photos.
Good, they're expanding. I still want to go back to Worcester though, so.
Worcester is underappreciated, I think, as a city.
Ray, got a cool idea for you. I'm just gonna throw this one at you because I don't think I'll ever get around to it. As much as I want to. Not sure if it's a good or bad idea, but I've always had this product idea where as the I mean I think I don't know if this exists. It probably does, who knows, but like say it's a cylinder and obviously it's like white wax as it goes down, a city emerges. So but can you
That's
3D print
interesting.
that city? Can you bring the history, like say it's a Czech city or it's like a Roman whatever or something, and like then you sell it as, and like maybe like the base is like metal and you can inscribe some story around it or some saying from the times. um it could be some like, have a great day in whatever, like some Celtic, some Scottish, something like what, something cool. And now that collectively, and if anything, then you can sell the refill of the wax. So not only are you giving them this base, but you're allowing them to, like, maybe you put the like a mold over the top and you let them refill it. So now it becomes this thing that they keep doing over and over, but you sell not the cartridges, but the stuff. They keep coming back to you for that.
Hmm.
But there's that. And I was like, well, you can definitely 3D print that, especially if it's like 3D printed ceramic. And 3D printed ceramic, I should drop a picture in there, is really cool because you could get the speckle in there, and the speckle helps distract from the fact that there's like layer lines and stuff like that. And I think with like either bamboo or whatever, actually, Prusa did a good job of like the scattered. I love the scattered effect that Prusa has because it avoids
Hmm.
putting a seam, and it ends up putting the end of the filament in random areas and it looks good. But yeah, there's that one, and I have a crazier idea that I don't think is related to this, but like that one might be something to take advantage of.
Well, now I need to know what the crazier idea is. I can't just hear about the crazy idea and then not hear, you know. What
Uh,
else are you thinking?
if anybody wants to partner with me on this one, I would be much appreciated. I was like, so I always loved, I'd never had enough money growing up to get those 3D puzzles. They were like foam 3D puzzles. But what I loved about those were so cool because it would like you would build like a coliseum or like a cathedral or something like that. And
Hmm.
I was always like I wanted them so bad, but there's no way I was getting them. And I always probably found ways to like make my own, like cut out cardboard and start creating a 3D puzzle myself. But my dad was like the biggest instigator. He would help me with that, right? He would see that and he would help me make that stuff. But like I was like, how can you educate people in the modern day without having them spend a freaking arm and a leg? So a lot of my design is always with the thought of like the blue collar person in mind that wants that thing, but they can't afford it. So give them that quality for their money. And like for me, I was just like, how can I leverage 3D printing to give that? And I was like, how can you create that 3D puzzle as if you're going to like a science store or like it's the store at the end of like a museum. I loved those stores, but couldn't afford those things either. So my idea is like 3D print um a cube, and then and it's like paint by number, but it's sculpture. I don't think they've done that yet. So it's three dimensional. So you give somebody a tiny chisel and a hammer, and then you tell them hit number one, hit all the ones, hit all the twos, hit all the threes, and eventually like the statue of David emerges or something. And but because if you could 3D print ceramics, now you can create that feeling. And then
That's
you give
cool.
them a sanding thing and like it will you take advantage of the tessellation, and then you have to have them smooth out those areas. And eventually, they've
Ah,
created their own statue, but you help them get there, and they had to. And it gets harder and harder. There might be like more expert levels where like the finesse of you like hitting it, but it helps them just like paint by number. You can take it where you want to. You're going to mess up, and you have to react like an artist.
that's
Best
cool.
artists and craftsmen hide their mistakes, right? So I was like, I want that to be a brand that I create from 3D printing, but it's like, I don't know. That's kind of pulled out, but I don't know. I don't know.
That's cool.
Just thought.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 3D printing as a constraint has been such an interesting thing to think about as we're like starting this business because it's like there's so much that can be done with it. It's I feel like it's misleading because it's like you can make anything with it, but then what actually has value to the consumer and what are they willing to accept as being 3D printed? It like narrows the scope so quickly. It's like an interesting thing to like try and
That's why like
get
those
my
two
mind around.
ideas are like
Yeah.
you're owning it and you're making something unique from that experience that maybe you can't do otherwise. And but then like I love going back to like Dave's example of like doing something with the hammer. It's like what can you do that you're helping to repurpose all of this stuff?
Hmm.
But I was like, for me, I was just like, how can I make money off of my 3D printer while I'm doing design work for my clients? Can I just be printing a thing that somebody bought,
Yeah, exactly.
in spare time?
Oh, whoops. Sorry, I saw some people kind of panning back and forth, so I recopied the post-it notes on the right-hand side as well.
And to Jonathan's idea of nature, this one thing popped up. I just said, I was like, I typed in like repurposed nature or something like that. And I didn't even realize it until like way later that it was like tires that were like somebody, it looked like somebody made a bench and it was like tires that somebody put like legs, stool legs on and put grass in it. And I was, and then, but then I realized, oh, they're tires. Like I didn't realize
Yeah.
that. And I was like, oh, that's really cool that somebody made something beautiful from found objects that it didn't strike me at all at first.
Hmm.
Pretty cool.
Not easy to do, but
It's an interesting thought. Maybe I'm alone in this, but like when I'm thinking as a designer and thinking about like materials, I'm thinking about like wood and fabric and metal, but I don't think about plants as like a part of like the bomb of a product. But that could be like an interesting thought exercise to just sit down and like think about like how do you actually thread like living things into this design as like a part of the product that you're selling. That's it, like because I have to imagine it's probably cheap. It resonates. It gives it like a really premium feel. I don't have like a specific idea around this, but I don't know, you're just triggering.
I think I think Jonathan put like those space dividers, and I can't help but think that really cool space divider with the half circles, the open and closed frame. It's like it's so like I would love to hang plants from those. Like if I had the space to like ham up a space divider, but then do it my way, like drape a thing over it or whatever. Like I don't know. I love that glass one you put in there too.
Yeah, furniture's been like a tricky one for us to solve as a business because it's like it commands a premium, it sells, it always moves, but it takes up a lot of square footage. And so like storage becomes an issue fast, was what I ran into. Like end tables, buffets, chairs and tables, like things, some things become tough as well because people want pairs, but the dividers might be nice. Like if they can compact down, like maybe that's the way into that kind of like side of the market because it compacts down small. It's simple to make. It's like fairly geometric. You can do a lot with it. It's very customizable, very personalizable. It's like a
What
something I hadn't considered.
The room divider, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
I
if
think that's a
the
really
divider
great.
is not freestanding? Like if shipping's an issue in space, what if
Yeah.
it's a curtain? So you like achieve the same thing, the same look and everything as the divider, but you come up with a clever way that it hangs so that you can ship it real small.
Hang a rug. I mean, like hospitals, not the best example, but like dividers are curtains. But
Right.
like do it a nice, nicey way. Um, could you crazy idea? Um, like kind of like that luggage one where it's like you've given them a procured um collection of things. Can you give a runner rug? It doesn't have to be a big rug, right? Like runner rug. I
Hmm.
love runner rugs because they're narrow and
Yep.
it's that splash you need, but it doesn't take up space. And um, I'm more into runner rugs and circle rugs. But like, if you had a rug and you rolled up the stuff in it and you sent it to them, and the package is literally like when you unroll the rug, you get candles, you get pottery, you get whatever. I don't know, and that becomes the package itself.
That's a good idea. It's expensive. The only thing is it
Poster,
does become expensive packaging.
heavy, yeah.
But we'll write it down. Yeah, for
But
sure.
like I guess
Get
it
it.
in person stuff maybe where it's just like you got a bunch of
Good
like old
point.
rugs and then you got a little poster, informational poster, and you're like, inside this rug, when you unroll this, you're gonna get all these things. And
Yeah.
we're gonna charge you $70, but you get all this stuff.
I wonder if you could do a rug as a tool roll.
Ooh. Ooh, that's cool. Yeah, like I mean, kind of like the rolled shit in newspapers. But like also
Yeah.
I wonder can you do that? But it's a crazy idea getting newspapers from I got fixated on like an NPR thing where they were talking about collecting newspapers and going into people's homes and how they used to people used to wrap things in newspapers, but that's one of the best signs of the times or finding information from the times because newspaper wasn't so cheap then.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so when you got a newspaper, you would use the newspaper and then you would keep repurposing the paper and people find antiques in newspapers. And if you unravel the newspaper, you can read something about the times. And like this, it's like this historical gem that keeps happening, especially for historians. And it was from the point of view of a historian at Harvard,
Yeah.
telling this story. And they found more about history through rummaging through people's antiques that are wrapped up in newspapers. Because
That's
there's no
interesting.
books on
Yeah.
stuff, and like those articles become clues to the past through the lens of perhaps bias or unbiased. And it's crazy.
It's an interesting idea because packing paper is not something that I just basically find whatever's the cheapest. I,
That's
I'll be
part of
honest, I
the
pull a lot of packing
experience.
paper out of our Amazon boxes and I reuse it for the
Yeah, but that's like,
business.
but that
Um,
you could like use that. You're like, yeah, we're just
yes.
using
And I
this
think like
as
the
the
antique newspapers and magazines are cheap and they're everywhere and they sit and you can usually negotiate down with booth owners on that stuff pretty easy. They just got to get rid of it. So I think there is something to that, um, for sure.
my wife wants to start a Christmas ornament. You can't take this one. No. Christmas ornament business, which is it's lovely. It's like taking advertisements from the past, magazines, newspapers, all that stuff, hodgepodging them into a flat surface, then acrylicing over the top, but in cookie cutter shape. So like putting them
Oh,
inside
nice.
the cookie cutter and
Yeah.
selling that because her and her friend make those inside the cookie cutter and it has the depth and you see those, but they repurpose those and they're so beautiful, but she wants it to be more timeless for people where it doesn't get ruined. And if you just put acrylic over the top, it'll always be captured in time. And you have this like really endearing these shapes. Um, so just hopefully that sparks something. I don't know.
Yeah, for
But you're
sure.
capturing time with all this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we're at 10:30. I want to kind of start winding this down and wrapping up. Do we just want to go through, does everyone just want to kind of share one or two ideas of how they kind of clustered a few things together?
Sure. I'll jump off since I'm on the left,
Sure.
and in this culture we read left to right. So the I just thought this idea of like 3D printing faux antiques or, you know, creating those small elements that someone might want in their house that couldn't afford or can't find, through 3D printing, whether that's like full ground up or taking like a broken a broken bit of something, replacing it with the 3D printed piece. Um, but which is brings me to my next one. I thought this sort of like 3D patch, 3D printed patch idea was had a lot of legs. um, and yeah, we've talked about it. It's just what we talked about. This idea that Jonathan had, I think it's really, I don't know that there's the idea here yet, but something that takes, like, if you're an antique collector, like maybe you collect antique rugs and you hang them on the wall, like, is there like the perfect, nicest rug hanging bracket, and could you be the maker of that? So it's like you're supplying uh, product to people for their addiction to uh, antiques, whether it's a shelf or a hanger or whatever. I thought that was really nice, and it's yeah. And the cool thing is it could like grow from like stuff you could make in the garage to like this is business is going well. Let's cut some steel and make some plastic parts or whatever.
And just to add to it, maybe array at first, because I saw a lot of them online already. So maybe you buy existing ones and you test with it, right? At first, see how it goes.
Yeah, you're just saying like source a product and see how it sells through. And then if it sells through, then replace that with your own custom one.
Sorry, I'm on mute. Yeah, that's a good idea, Jonathan. I just wrote that down. Cool. Kelly, looks like you're adding. Oh yeah, like placards and
Yeah, like
explanations. Yeah.
when I kept seeing that mount, I realized I was thinking it and never said it. It's just like you turn your rug into an art piece, right? So my mind just instantly goes to a plaque of sorts where like can you combine the story element where you're hanging this thing or presenting it, but it has information behind it and you're
And those
turning
could
it
be
into
like
that art piece.
you're thinking like custom ordered thing. Like if you could on the store plug in your information and order like a set of custom pieces.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like even if it was just like I'm looking at that brass rug mount, even if it was that and it also came with just the frame
Hmm.
of a placard you can put next to it and then you write in the story or you type in the story. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just where my head's going.
I'm also going to put in I will identify your rug. This is something that is a huge
Hmm.
problem. Even antique dealers who focus on rugs will miscategorize rugs all the time. And so I think that could be something like that's valuable for like if you've inherited some this old thing that you know nothing, it's the whole antique roadshow idea. I think that's cool. That plays really well. Cool.
Yeah, I just had the thought of like you could have rug size ones, you could have plant size ones, you could, for someone that has that room of the
Mm.
seeds and twigs or whatever, like little identifying tags all over the place could fit that sort of mind space.
That's cool. I wonder if people would resonate with that value proposition from like an interior design standpoint of like, hey, I want people to like step into my home and it's almost this like museum or like
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
arboretum.
yeah, it's like a hosting entertainment. Like, yeah, that's interesting.
I mean,
Cool.
it definitely fits that like
Yeah,
cluttered but homey thing.
for sure. Awesome. Does anyone want to go next? Kelly, Jonathan, Dave? Or Jonathan, we
Um,
just went through yours, right? Or no, these were Dave's. Dave's on the bottom.
Oh,
Yeah, I just happened to pick
Yeah,
Jonathan's.
yeah.
I had this idea. I'm in like the upper right corner of the board. Um, kind of seems obvious, but could you, and we talked about it a little bit, curate sets? So, um, for example, you're trying to make an Art Deco themed cocktail set, and you find these antique pieces, but then you sell them on your site as a one-off set. And I feel like you could sell that for a premium because, it's one of one. But basically, your business becomes collecting and curating, but you're doing it with your industrial design eye, and then also giving a story. So someone, that's where the premium comes in because someone's gonna want to buy this story and resonate with it and then retell it in their home.
I to roll off of that, I think have has anybody either heard of like Fab Fit and Fun or like there's like international snack packs. Like they do stuff like that at a surplus. Like you buy into like Fab Fit and Fun is awesome. My wife gets it every quarter or whatever, and like for like a very affordable rate, like $50 a quarter, something like that, you get like $300 worth of value because everybody's buying into this. So they're using everybody's money. It's like a legal Ponzi scheme where like they're using the money to find these things and not subsidize, but like minimize the cost. So you get really good products curated and portion of it is curated by them, but then you go and get to pick like with your budget what you want, what's available at that time. But like that's I think Kelly, that's a great idea too. Like you can sell at a premium because you've done the curation. You're doing this anyways with all of this stuff, right? So you might as well bundle it together, perhaps, right?
Mhm. And
And
then in this
maybe
case, you
that.
could kind of A/B test, like where the where the demand is, like what kind of kits, whether it's espresso making, plant curation, caring for cocktails, and like what works for you from a business side as far as finding the stuff, packaging it, shipping it.
Like
Yeah, and
American.
again to the concept of like online testing, you could be you don't have to buy in a bunch of inventory of any of this stuff. Just find out like what's the one that's going to be like have the highest sell through. And also you could add in all the other things we've talked about into this thing, right? It's like you could do the 3D printed, handled pulls or whatever, drawer pulls or this isn't like it's standalone thing. It could use all this stuff.
Yeah, if something needed a repair or some sort of um, improvement.
And can you, to save time, finding this stuff? Because I know like a big portion of your time goes to going and finding, learning, collecting, massive amount of time, right? The more this ramps up, that you don't have. Well, like big portion of this was like, look, I'm trying to do something while raising a family and have a full-time job, blah, 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 right? Now, can you employ, like, it's almost like American Pickers meets Antique Roadshow sent to you sort of thing. And it's like, can you employ people like American Pickers, the TV show, where like they're going out actively, and that's what they do. They like to go get the stuff. They're the experts. They're finding this stuff, and like you work with them to collect things of a size or significant historical value, and like you get them on the same wavelength. So they're looking for these things, and then they're trying not selling you, but like they can come to you with the things like they're your scouts, and then you'll save time
Yeah. Yeah,
sort
that's
of
been
thing, and
slowly
they're all
happening
over.
over time. It's like I have dealers now that will come to me with things that they know I specialize in, like the with the rug thing. And that helps quite a bit.
And you're on chat with all the antique stores
Dude,
all
the
day.
amount, but I will say the amount of crap that I have to dig through to find this stuff is brutal.
That's the thing. It's like,
The
how can you save
the
your own money?
$300 Victorian rocking horses that nobody wants. Like it's just there's so much junk. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Awesome. Okay, that's a great idea. Yeah, thanks, Kelly. Dave or Jonathan, what did you guys manage to pull?
I'll go
Yeah,
ahead.
I can go. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, I was gonna say you go.
Okay. Hey, I just wanted to bring something up about previous discussion with Dave. So I was thinking about, and also Kelly the plague. So I was thinking about how can we augment the storytelling, and I was thinking, hey, maybe in your wall hanger and wall holder, you have some sort of QR code, and then it comes with a landing page with a subscription model, and it tells the whole story and the
That's
patterns
cool.
and all that. So it's pretty cool.
Hmm.
Um, okay, where I'm at. Yeah, I tried to push the knob. Was inspired by that because of the 3D printing. I was thinking, okay, what else can you bring inside of it that add value and which connect back to more antique? So I think it could be maybe all antique, funky objects you find out that maybe by themselves they're cool, but they don't have any purpose. Suddenly, when you encapsulate them in your printing and you see through these, that makes a cool knob. Flower casted. What else? Illuminated one, a bit maybe gimmicky. And then
Yeah,
I
right.
thought of, yeah,
Sorry,
go on.
Jonathan, just to put a pin in something, one of your processes is not resin casting. That could totally be done in the garage too. So just to
Yeah, true, true.
remember that.
Yeah. Does anyone have ex on the call have experience with that? Because it's something I see people doing. I don't know how hard or easy that is.
You can, if you want, you can consult with my mom. She's
Okay.
the resin casting. She's doing that for her jewelry, and she freaking loves it, and
Okay.
she's gotten good at it. So
Okay, cool. I'm gonna let's make a post-it around that. Oh, cool. Somebody got it. Awesome.
I'll give you our website. Shameless plug here. Pearls by Pat, everybody.
Yeah, it's a good call. It's just something I've never tried and I don't have experience with, so I just wasn't thinking about it. But yeah,
I
good
think
call
it's
out.
easy to I think it's easy to mess with and hard to master, but
Mm,
yeah, for sure.
She
It,
also has an Etsy, so she can talk to you about the headaches of that as well.
yeah, good to know. Sorry, Jonathan. Were you able to capture your whole idea, or is there anything
Yeah,
else
just
here?
I
two
think
last one quickly. So the memory knobs. So then it's I know it's much more intensive with customer, but that allows you to offer something really unique. So they provide you something that then you cast on over. And then random thoughts, all these vintage electronic knobs or maybe other from other sources that then you could repurpose in cabinet knobs. And I'm thinking about geeks folks or Nintendo folks, or I don't know. That definitely it brings your kitchen to a in a different give a different flavor to it. So,
mhm.
This is interesting. I'm gonna add to this. I'm gonna say, what am I trying to say here? Bring back famous design knobs from history. I'm a little hesitant to like destroy an entire radio just for the knobs. But I wonder if there's like a way to like take those design cues or take like find interesting knob designs and like replicate them and then tell the story. Like I'm trying to think of like some other way to like feed into that. But I like the idea. Like
Okay.
it's a cool idea for sure.
All right.
Could
yeah,
you take these amp knobs and turn them into drawer pulls or cabinet or something else, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I was
I don't know if
wondering
and
that's
the
what
it
other
you
way too, like I don't know this sort of equipment, but could you have like a modern synthesizer or some sort of modern technology that you
that's cool.
then give it this retro feel?
Steampunk it
mhm.
Great one, Kelly.
would be awesome if
Because
that.
that now you're tapping into like another user base. It's like you're doing two groups, right? You've got I'm a big fan of like hyper focused tiny user groups because they're easy to find instead of like
Yes, agreed.
from my background, do you eat food? You know, like
Exactly. Yeah.
it's hard to
Do you
mess with
like
that, you know.
coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's
Oh,
like you own and do, you know,
Yeah.
digital music and you also like antiques, you know, that's like probably if you've ever searched those things in Meta, then you're tagged and you'll be easy to find.
You've been
Right.
Yeah.
found.
For
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
it would be awesome if there was a. This might be excessive, but like yeah, I like you were saying like you know you don't want to like rip things apart to make a thing, but like I don't know, it'd be awesome to like um get a board of a couple like different types of knobs. Like I mean just like ephemeral. I don't know what that hits on for some people, but like for industrial designers, if you had a board of different types of keyboard keys and you're just playing with it, but throughout the different eras, be so neat. I went to a Montessori school growing up, before kindergarten, and one of the best things that they do at those schools is they have boards of like zippers, buttons, pouring stations, and they just teach you these motor skills, and you just do this over and over all
That's
day.
cool.
And it was a great way to learn, without feeling like you were learning, but it was like it was nice because you got the it was a very tactile experience. And it's like, can you give adults an appreciation? Kind of like that blown up iPhone. It's like, can you recreate that in a way that you're repurposing?
For
And
sure. Awesome. Sorry guys, give me 1 second here.
Mhm.
nice to meet everybody.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
lot of cool ideas floating around. That's
it's
awesome.
a it's a good group. We
Yeah.
should do something else.
Miss doing this. I miss talking to designers.
Let's cut Ray out of this business, and
We're gonna
Yeah.
undercut Ray.
he hasn't brought anything to the table. I don't know.
He hasn't talked about his competition yet.
Mhm.
No, I think I love it because it's kind of like, how do you help Ray create this awesome competitive advantage he's embarking on?
All right, sorry. My kid is like storming up the stairs. Okay. Dave, I think are you the I think you're the only person who hasn't gone yet. I just want to make sure we get
Yeah.
what you have.
Also, when someone I forgot if somebody was saying, maybe it was the knob thing, but like, I was kind of weird. I had a button collection growing up. It was bestowed onto me, and then I semi obsessively got into it. But I think my grandma just dumped a whole box of buttons on me once, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like
Yeah.
this is freaking history right here. Like I don't, it was metal, plastic. I don't know, and it goes. Buttons are interesting because it goes through the era of
Hmm.
manufacturing at that moment in time. It's
Yeah,
like a
and
little time capsule.
they sell for crazy money too. Like I've flipped like Victorian hand painted enamel buttons. They're kind of hard to find and people glaze over them a lot, but the people who want them will pay
Really?
like a lot for them.
Like, can you create? It's like even that and sell button collections. Like, give them a sewing kit. I don't know. I mean, I love looking at sewing
Yeah.
throughout the eras. Sewing machines in themselves are like advanced for
Hmm.
the times, and it's just like excessively crafted things to do these jobs. They were necessary. But yeah, I just kind of, I think I'm just trying to help hit on like how can you leverage modern tools that are quick and excelling like a 3D printed platform and crickets and stuff like that. Can you create, yeah, can you embrace having a mini manufacturing plant in your home? And I've like dwelled on this a lot for my own business. I'm like, what the fuck can I get away with? With like these awesome tools that are like affordable, but like give me so much leverage that I don't have to like lean on a prototyping facility or whatever, like for my own clients, but like how can I make a business out of it? And I think you are set up in a way where it's like I tried to, if anything, showed there's the wooden spools, there's the ceramic spools. What can you do with 3D printing that like adds value, especially the kintsugi thing? Like these bundled packages. Could it be something like can somebody make their own divider? Or something like that, where it's like it's really easy um, and can it be packed up? Like I really like that divider because it's kind of like I could see that divider being flat packed, like in a way where it's like, oh, okay, you just have to stack these half circles on each other, or like you make a circle, you make a circle, you make a circle. That's like really thin, and the package is actually super compact. I'm obsessed with compact design. I don't know if anybody's ever seen my chess set, but I love compacting things together, and I think that's why I like the SX70 to begin with, was how compact that technology was for the time, and but I think where you're headed to is just like, how can you give a lot of value and a very space saving opportunity, and you're dealing with things that are larger. So like how you cleverly like the rugs and stuff. It's just like how can you cleverly package these things together that creates an experience like no other, right? And like somebody said, maybe roll up the tools of that era or something, and you throw in buttons or candle holders or something like that that like really curates an experience. It's almost like it's truly, it's like sending the museum to them, I think. And I think that's what I've always like. I wish Derek was here. I know his energy would be out of the room. But that's why I really love Design Museum Boston, which became Design Museum Everywhere. because they were truly like, there is no museum. We bring the museum to you. And that blew my mind. And being in Boston, seeing that, it truly did bring history and everything to the community. So growing up with that going on was incredible to see that happening. And I wrote something old, something new, which is like a wedding phrase, I think. Um, so like it was so lovely. One of my aunts sent something to my wife in the process of us getting married, and it was like a box of like something old, something new, whatever. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that was like a nice rhyming phrase thing. And but like this is kind of what you're doing, and it's like how can you merge these worlds? So I mean that's a verbal regurgitation, but I don't know. I think everybody's hitting on stuff, and I think with the like somebody said the curated like set of like bar stuff. I think that was Kelly. Like
Mhm.
you could really hit on people's desires, but help them get there. Like I watch I watch Gilmore Girls and I love that show. And but like every time they go over to the grandparents' house, it's like a freaking time capsule. Like, but they have so
Mm,
much taste and
right.
very pompous, entitled way, but they know they will artfully put things together because they want it to be a certain way and curated. But like people don't have time for that shit, you know? So like you're there to do that for them. And you could put your own spin on it with the modern tech.
Definitely. Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Dave. We're out of time. I wrote down you triggered a bunch of ideas for me, but we're out of time. Um, I think I can tell based on the discussion what's resonating the most, but would everyone mind just starring? We didn't get to the last exercise, but just grab this big red star and copy it onto your one favorite idea, just so I know for sure where everyone's head's at. That would be helpful
It
for me.
it's tough. I mean, so many good ideas.
Yeah.
I know. It's hey, I'm begging for this thing to take off so I can work on it full time because what spending a couple hours a week
And
is just
I think
not
the
has not
safe
been enough.
I hate the word safe, but like I think the safe bet is that like here it all together is you're leveraging stuff that exists. It's just
Yes.
how you curate that thing, right? And I selfishly put it on the luggage thing because I'm also kind of like I think you could just send people. I mean that's expensive to ship, but it's
Mhm.
um if all in all it's like I don't know. Uh but yeah, it's like thankfully your content is not like overly like the hard part about industrial design, right, and you're making new shit is it's so expensive, right? The
Mhm.
cost of entry for anybody, right? The R&D leading up, the prototyping, investing in tools, creating new materials, creating something new is just awfully expensive. So at least
Hard.
you're using things at your disposal.
Yeah.
What is somebody doing with that star over there?
I'm trying to make a star cover
That's so sick.
this whole thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I love it. You
I'm
created a
just gonna knock
galaxy.
this opacity
I
back
love
and
bending the rules. I love it. I love it.
So,
awesome. Well,
but
cool.
but
my I
but
think
to
the
me,
one
Ray,
spot.
sorry, but
Go for it.
I doesn't want to sound like a broken record, but to me, the essence of it is you should put yourself the constraint of not making anything at that point and just find a clever way to test these things because I think there's a tons of good ideas and nowadays there's ways to test those things in a really clever way. Yeah, and I think that should be the first part of it. So
I agree
I
with
know we
that.
as designer we love to win things, but we should hold our horses.
That's a great, very wise.
Yeah, figure out the fastest, easiest, cheapest way to
Yep.
test everything and make it not work. Figure out how it's not going to work so that you can
Exactly.
move on to a different idea
Yeah, from my
without
experience,
wasting money.
yeah, you can waste a lot of money and time going down the wrong path.
For sure. For sure.
Um, I think you touched on sustainability the way beginning too, and I think truly like if you can roll with a mantra and an endearing like motive of like d reduce waste, repurpose, like I just wrote that next to my stuff, and I'm just like, how can you convince people that may not be thinking about this or people that are already into this, and it's just like how can you convert new customers by like convincing them that like this is the way to go, and like there is that saying that's kind of like the best car to buy is a car that exists. And I mean that comes with a lot of repercussions too, because you might have to like fix it. But with product, it's like I guess you're making like a modern antique store.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's the goal. Yeah, that's the goal is to take this stuff that's kind of going out of date and revitalize it a bit.
But
Um,
you're not limited to a brick and mortar too, right? That would be very I mean, like eventually maybe, but like I think the versatility and the mobility of being online is very advantageous.
yeah, awesome. Cool. All right, that sounds good.